Hello, everybody. I'm John Red Eagle Bailey on the Conscious Community Center for my first full live stream. So we're going to see if some people are going to join us here. We'll take our time a little bit and get some stuff set up, because what I want to try to do is get on my laptop and while I'm doing this, to be sure that I can catch this live stream and also get the comments and things and questions down on the bottom, because sometimes they're kind of hard to find on the phone, I've discovered. Okay. Yeah, there we go. All right, so what we're going to be talking about tonight is energy and the different types of energy. But then we're also going to be talking about the shadow. Any of you that know me or have seen my card or my business page or anything else, that I am a master of shadows and energy, and you're going to understand what exactly that is as we go through. I'm not sure exactly how much time I have or how much time I'm going to be talking, because I just have a whole bunch of notes and everything that I want to convey. But also, we're going to take some time at the end. So if you want to have any questions or anything else like that you want to ask about energy or the shadow, you're more welcome to answer them. And even after the live stream, once you get on it later, you can go ahead and throw on some questions. We can start a discussion group in the community center over the next few days, which should be fun. Okay, so first thing about energy is, as an energy healer, you have to understand and discover what different types of energy are. I've narrowed it down to 4. The first is spiritual energy. It's the manifestation of divine pure love that defies descriptions or explanation. It's the life force that binds the soul and the body. The second is prana energy. This is, if you are a Reiki practitioner, you'll understand this from the get-go. But prana energy is the Sanskrit word for life force. It's a life energy that permeates all levels of the universe from source itself. Healing energy is the harnessing, directing, and channeling of all source energy, which is also light energy. Very important to recognize. And then number 4 is the metaphysical and astral energy. And it's the combination of energies which is light consciousness directly from source as well. So when you're working in energy, you can pretty much master all of them and bring them in. And while you're doing it, you can also bring in your angels, your guides, your masters, ascended masters and such, all to bring you in to assist you in your healing with another person. Okay, so that's pretty much it in a nutshell for energy, because I want to get right to the shadow. Carl Jung is the one who is most famous for this, and his definition, and I'm going to read it so that I don't get it confused, is the shadow is an unconscious complex that is defined as the repressed and suppressed aspects of the conscious self. There are constructive and destructive types of shadow. Jung emphasized the importance of being aware, which to me that is to be awakened and enlightened of the shadow material and incorporating it into conscious awareness, lest one project these attributes onto other people. Now, these personality traits and characteristics are most noticeable and magnified in psychopaths within everyday society, but it is within each person, causing chaotic, confused, and insecure delusions that we are all hiding from. So, yeah, you might have somebody that's a psychopath that is belongs in jail and does extremely bad things and has no conscience, but that also is evident in our society with our politicians and with some of the people in leadership roles within corporate America. And I'm sure you know what I'm talking about because you've probably experienced it. So the human being deals with the reality of the shadow in four ways. Denial, which is a large portion of today's society, and then there's also projection, when they want to project all of that onto the other people around them in order to control them. But then there's the integration and the transmutation. Now that is somewhat of a metamorphosis and cleansing process that happens, and what it takes to move through it. That's what I help people do, to help them recognize it. I don't do the work for people. They do it for themselves. I just help them through the process, because as a master of shadows over the last 50 years, I have dealt with my shadow, and it is a bitch, but you have to be able to tell yourself you're going to do whatever it takes to make it through. And thankfully, I've gotten to a point where that's why I'm here, to help other people. So it might sound strange, but I had this experience with one of my teachers one night, but the way he expressed it was, because of the world of duality that we live in, we have to learn how to embrace our shadow. In other words, the dark side. Because it's true. I mean, you watch Star Wars and you have the Force, which is the light, and then you have the dark side, you know. And once you acknowledge it and you embrace it, it makes a whole lot of sense to help you in your life. And this leads me to a statement who's a former patient of Jung's. I'm going to read his quote out loud to you. Out of evil, much good has come to me. By keeping quiet, repressing nothing, remaining attentive, and by accepting reality, taking things as they are and not as I want them to be, by doing all this, unusual knowledge has come to me, and the unusual powers as well, such as I could never have imagined before. I always thought that when we accepted things, they overpowered us in some way or other. This turns out to be true to all, but it is only by accepting them that one can assume an attitude towards them. So now I intend to play the game of life, being receptive of whatever comes to me, good and bad, sun and shadow, forever alternating, and in this way also accepting my own nature for its positive and negative sides. Thus everything becomes more alive to me. What a fool I was. How I tried to force everything to go according to the way I thought it ought to. So, being a patient of Dr. Jung, he came to the full revelation and understanding of what the shadow was for himself. And once he accepted it, life got a whole lot better. And we have a tendency in society to keep our mind occupied by all the bullshit stories and news about bad things and this and that and the next thing in the media, in our everyday life, in our local communities and things like that. We always have to have a fight for something. We have to fight cancer. We have to fight drugs. We have to fight this, that, and the next thing. And the problem there is that when you're fighting it, you're just adding to the dark side. You're adding to your own shadow, and you're just magnifying the negative energy. And that's not something you want to do. And I'll give you a prime example. Mother Teresa was asked, I believe in the 60s, if she would go to a demonstration against the Vietnam War, and she said no, but if you have a demonstration for peace, I'll lead it for you. So that's something that's always stuck in my mind. So, you know, think about that a little bit. Now, everyone carries a shadow, and lest it be embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is. Whatever you have left unresolved comes back to haunt you. So, part of the shadow, in my estimation, in everything that I've studied, gone through, lived, and such, is the self-discovery and the self-defined true self of who you are. And I want to give you an explanation and definition of what self is. Now I'm talking about your true self, but SELF. It stands for the soul, evolution, love, and forgiveness. There's nothing negative there. It's growth, it's love, and it's forgiveness. So it's maybe that's something else you want to keep going with that too, because in your subconscious you have the anxiety, the low self-esteem, and depression, and other negative emotions and things that come out, and it's all because of the things you're suppressing and holding down. It's sort of like a beach ball. You know, if you take it to a pool and you can try to hold it down for as long as you want to, you can sit on it and everything else, but sooner or later it's just going to pop up out of the water. Well, that's the same thing with the shadow, and that's why you see people who you think are perfectly fine, and then all of a sudden they blow up. You know, people that go postal, or people that take out their guns and start shooting kids in schools and things like that. This is all part of the shadow self that is denied and repressed. And it's something, if you can't seem to move forward, or you have cycles in your life that are continuing over and over again, this is the reason. So I wanted to read you a few lines that were written, and I want to kind of explain from my point of view on what they mean. The first four sentences all come together. There's a shadow just behind me, shrouding every step I take, making every promise empty, pointing every finger at me. What that means is this dark shadow that's just behind me, that's that dark cloud that people feel are hanging over them because of things that they've picked up since birth. That's all the negative energy that they've taken on, whether it's through generational beliefs, whether it's through family beliefs, systems, and traditions, and whether it's it could be anything. Actually, it can be stuff that's been told to you as you've grown up through society, through a teacher, other kids. Kids are they're mean, man. So anyway, that's that dark cloud. So there's a shadow just behind me, shrouding every step I take. When I think of a shroud, I think of it like being in a prison. It's the prison we create for ourselves. We don't do it consciously, obviously, it's subconsciously, but within that is that subconscious prison that we create for ourselves with limited belief systems. And all a belief system is thoughts that you keep thinking. So when it comes to a situation in your life that you'd like to see resolved, then there's a belief system and a thought that's holding you back. The next is, and I'll start from the beginning again, there's a shadow just behind me, shrouding every step I take, making every promise empty. That's where hopelessness and depression come in. And that's why it's really sad. When my son graduated high school, he's like, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go? I see other people getting away with all kinds of shit and just, taking it easy in life and just getting away with doing whatever they feel like doing. But, coming from our family, he knew that he had to be a good person, and have character. And, but that also, for a little while, led him through a little bit of depression at a point. So there's that hopelessness, And then the last line, there's a shadow just behind me. That's the dark cloud, shrouding every step I take. That's the prison we create for ourselves. Making every promise empty. That's the hopelessness that keeps haunting us. And then the last line, pointing every finger at me. That's self-judgment. That's the judgment that we have against ourselves, even when somebody else is not doing it. Somebody might not even say anything to us or about us, but we might trigger a thought of judgment just from something that they did that it really wasn't meant to be in judgment. It was just something that they did or said that was because of circumstances in their life, but we take it personally. I had that problem for a large portion of my life. I still wrestle with it at times, and it sucks, but you know, it is what it is. I know that I need to work on it, and at least I'm aware of it. It's not nearly as bad as it was. Another part of the writing was that, and this is more of the like self-judgment, the view that a person has on themselves. I will find the center in you. I will chew it up and leave. I will work to elevate you, just enough to bring you down. It's like just when you have enough hope to move forward and that everything's going to be fine, the next thing you feel like is that you just want to take it all. You take yourself out of the game. You know, and because of drugs and alcohol and other things, due to mental illness and depression and anxiety and things like that, when you look at people like Chris Cornell and Chester Bennington, you know, people that had it all. I'll give you another example. What was his name? He played Robin Williams. Here's another man that had it all. You know, every goal that he set, every personal goal that he set, he made. He set records as a comedian, wanted to do dramatic movies, and took on some awesome roles in which he won awards. He had everything to live for. But that shadow side of him, inside, was just beating him down. And that led to a sickness that he had, that I heard Bob, what's his name? He was in the police movies, Police Academy movies. Bobcat Goldthwait had mentioned, and yeah, that was part of the problem too. And perhaps he was on medication as well. I don't know. But these are shadows projections creating a veil of illusion in the barrier between self and the outer world. So when we speak of energy, we have the energy that's here in our physical world, in our physical reality. The nice thing is that there's the counterpart of the self-awareness of what the shadow is, and that these other forms of energy that I spoke about are available. So, with some true guidance as a spiritual advisor, I can help you get through some of these things and help you better understand what it is that's holding you back. It's not as simple as, you know, the law of attraction and positive thinking and everything else like that. You know, they're wonderful techniques, and a lot of them hold true. But if you're wondering why you're not getting anywhere and you have repeating cycles in your life, there's something in your shadow that needs to come to the surface. And if it doesn't, and you don't bring it to the top, you're going to have a beach ball coming up out of the water. And I don't think that you or your friends and family want that to happen. So, you know, it's something you want to keep in mind. You know, so anyway, I hope I mentioned everything that I wrote down. That's pretty much it in a nutshell, as far as the energy and the shadow. So I know there's only 2 people watching, but that's okay, because even if this gets to someone else later on, it's going to be well worth it. and you can contact me for my services on John Red Eagle Holistic Healer page, Psychic Holistic Healer page, or on my personal page, John Red Eagle Bailey, or contact me here at the Conscious Community Center. If anybody's watching and has any questions, right now, I'll hang out for a couple minutes here and see what comes up. But other than that, it's going on 8 o'clock, and I have to get up at 12:30 in the morning to get ready to go pick up a load and head to Baltimore and be there by 8 o'clock in the morning. So while I'm driving, I'll check this also as well, and so if there's any questions after this, tomorrow, we'll get into that too. Would love to have a discussion board. I'm sure there's people out there that want to know more about healing energy and the different types and the different modalities that perhaps I may use. And so, because it depends on the person. As a psychic holistic healer, I read the person's energy and have an idea of what their ailment is in which I can help, and that's my specialty. What can you do for me to help me deal with my shadow? Well, that's a good question. It just depends on what part of your shadow. First of all, you have to acknowledge that you have one. Secondly, part of what people need to do is something that I mentioned in my video earlier today, Life According to Red Eagle, is to be more mindful and aware of where you're at, what you're thinking on a daily basis during the day, what's your body telling you, what are the things that are bothering you the most, that are most on your mind. Is it causing any type of anxiety? So what I can do to help you deal with your shadow is to, first of all, pull things out. Like I said, if there's a problem with anxiety or depression or addiction or relationship problems, once we center those, then we can go in further in a private session and discover what those things are so that you can begin your work on it. And if it also goes into something energetically that I can literally do to heal you, to open that up or pull some of that out, whether it's through lightning Reiki that I do, or the access bars, or anything else that I do, then we can do that too. So there's plenty of options. So that is kind of a really broad question, but it all begins with you. It's just being more mindful in where you need to be, and what's happening in your life and what you're feeling, because we're not taught that either. We're not taught how to be aware of, okay, what are my thoughts in the present moment, because we're either thinking about the past or we're hoping for the future. And so with that being said, very few people are able to train themselves to be in the present and really connect with themselves, because they're not taught how. What is my body feeling? What am I thinking, and why am I thinking that? So it can go in a lot of different directions. And when I'm dealing with someone specifically, whether it's in a private session, whether it's over the phone or through Skype or in person, I get a better read, and I can open myself up in order to just come right in and give you a kind of pinpoint what's going on in the moment. Because what happens is Spirit will always guide me to what needs to be pulled out first. And the funny thing is, it's sort of like an onion. It's the layers of an onion. You're not going to get rid of everything in one session, in one shot. It's not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. Nothing I've ever done in my life spiritually through healing and energy and the shadow has been easy. Another question is, can you tell us about your new video series? Yeah, that's pretty cool. I put it up on my own page, and then I share it in different communities. It's called Life According to Red Eagle. It was a 90-day challenge that I got a couple of days ago, and because I constantly have thoughts, about different things. Like I said, today was being about being mindful. So it was really kind of cool because I like these types of challenges. So it's a video series that it could be 5 minutes, it could be 12-minute video, depending on what I want to talk about. And I never plan it. I wake up in the morning, and whatever spirit guides into my brain, so to speak, or into my spirit, and that's what I talk about. So if you have any topics that you're curious about, let me know, and I'll meditate on that, and maybe we'll go with that. But because I got to do this for 90 days, so I might need a little bit of help here and there. But the video series is going to be available here online, but I also have Red Eagle Raw that I'm going to be doing once a week on my YouTube channel, John Red Eagle Bailey, and of course I'll be doing at least something, different offerings, perhaps a video live stream every week here, or maybe every other week. It kind of depends. Casey and I haven't really nailed that down on what we're going to do yet, where I'm concerned. So yeah, it's a pretty cool challenge, and it's just things that I think are the types of things that people need to be more attentive about in their life on their spiritual walk. It's sort of like yesterday I mentioned that a lot of times when you go, the nice thing about these videos is you can go back and watch them. But when you go to a seminar or something, and if you don't buy any CDs or DVDs or anything about the event, then you're only going to retain 15 to 20% of the information. And what the problem there is that everybody's feeling good about the event that they went to, spent a lot of hard-earned money for, and then 3 days later they're back in their world and they don't apply what they have learned, and then they complain because, oh, my life sucks, nothing's changed, that program didn't work. Well, how can it work? It's like buying a car and not putting gas in it and bitching because it doesn't start to take you to work in the morning. You know what I mean? So you got to be more, what's the word I'm looking for? You have to really apply things to your life to make it a part of a lifestyle in order to change. So, let's see that happen. You know what I mean? So, if there's any more questions, because the applying things to your life is something that I've done, and if you just have to do it. That's any of us that are in this line of work is because we want to be. I wrote in my book, Learning to Fly in Higher Love, which fly means first love yourself, was that it was kind of funny. I didn't think that, I was cut out for this, and I was, but then I realized that I can't not do this. It's something that I have in me that I have to kind of like share with people and help them, because here's the thing, words don't teach, life experience does. But what I want to do is take my life experiences and everything that I've been taught in order to help you to make your journey a little bit less eventful, so to speak, in the way that it doesn't take you as long to go through the process. You can speed up and get to a higher vibration, because that's what we're all here for. Casey, thank you so much to the Conscious Community Center. Thank you, Ann, for your question. Go ahead and throw up some more questions afterwards if you like. Hope to see more of you here next time around, but it's okay. You know, I heard a good friend of mine once who started out and said that there were times that where, you know, he was lucky if he had a handful of people come to his seminar and he barely paid his expenses. And that's how he started. You might know him. His name's Tony Robbins. So anyway, thank you very much. I love you. And with every single video that I ever end with, it's just dare to dream. Take care of yourself.